always after the toys, right? And so that you're in your mind, you're like, oh no, this is a new dog. It's gonna chase the toys. Oh, he's coming in to get us in the room, and then Woody kind of trains him and all that stuff. So I thought that was a cool place to take that.
Okay, Patrick, is there anything else you want to talk about for the movie?
No, that's pretty much it. I guess the one thing I would say is I really like the way it ended, where Woody finally finishes the last episode in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess people didn't really focus too much on actually the episodes, but if you remember the last episode when it cuts off, they never found out if he's able to make the swing.
Mm-hmm.
So him and Jesse finished that by doing the swing on the airport at the airplane.
Now I found some trivia online, and I need to rewatch it to figure out if this is true or not. But I heard that actually that they did finish the show. And you hear the last episode when Woody and Buzz are arguing about if he's going to stay or not, and that just shows you that Stinky Pete was lying, because you're hear in the background that he made the jump, and then at the end of the show was the "You've Got a Friend in Me" song from Woody to everybody. So I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's just some trivia I found. I have to rewatch it because it's something in the background. It's just another hint to show you that Stinky Pete was not being 100% truthful. I don't know why he would have lied to them about not finishing the show. But that's just a bit of trivia I found, but I wasn't sure about. That's why I didn't share it in our official trivia section. Mm-hmm. So I'll have to rewatch it and find out.
Yeah, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I don't remember noticing it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It just means I didn't notice it.
And that's a moment that really got me in the feels. Obviously the whole Jesse story. When Somebody Loved Me, that got me in the feels, I'd wondered where the song came from forever, because Brandon, I know in our last episode I mentioned that Disney's on the Record album with those Disney remixes of that pop quartet, and that was a great song, and I was like, what is this from? I love this song, and now it's from Toy Story 2, and that was really emotional, kind of like I Will Go Sailing No More for the first one, but then in this one where you hear, Woody on the TV singing You Got a Friend on Me, right, that's what convinces Woody to go back home to Annie's room. Oh man, it really got me in the feels. I love that moment.
Where is your feels?
It's in between my heart and my lungs.
Oh, okay. Interesting. That's interesting. Cool. I love the Sarah McLachlan song. I think the Sarah McLachlan song is great. I'm a big Sarah McLachlan fan. She's a Canadian singer. Up to a certain point a few years ago, I had all of her albums. But yeah, I think she was a great addition to this film. Perfect choice for the voice of Jesse. And I got to say that I love Joan Cusack as Jesse. Mm-hmm. I don't know, I love the Cusack brother and sister duo there. I think both of them are great. But I don't know what people think of Joan Cusack. She's kind of got that voice that I think people might find annoying or something like that. But I don't know. I love her voice. I think she's great. So she's not Fran Drescher, that's for sure.
Fran Drescher went to my junior high school.
At the same time as you?
No, not same age as that.
Oh my God!
But she did come back from time to time to talk to us, so.
Cool. Zach, anything else you want to talk about for the film that we haven't addressed yet?
No, I guess the only last point I wanted to ask you is, do you think the Buzz Lightyear thing was a little too on the nose with Star Wars, I'm Your Father thing? I didn't mind it. I thought it was kind of cute, but because we all know what's going on there.
I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was totally hilarious and again, perfect. There's tongue-in-cheek jokes throughout the whole thing, right? And even at the end where they're, the secret code, the Nintendo Power magazine, there's such smart little jokes throughout the movie. Even the callback, in the video game at the beginning, right? When he's going across the circles, it plays the theme song from 2001, right? Yeah. So, there's lots of little pop culture callbacks throughout the film, and there was lots in the first one too. There's more in this one, so I don't know. I think it's hilarious and it's really cute, so it works for me.
I really like the Star Wars one, especially knowing where the company comes from, knowing that they came from Lucas to Apple to Disney. I think it's really cool that they then tied back to that. I mean, eventually Disney and Marvel and Pixar and Lucasfilms are all one company, but at this point they're actually all separate companies. So,
So Zach, did you get around to watching Tin Toy?
I did not.
Zach, I told you to watch it.
Why does it matter, Brandon?
Because I want to talk about it with you. We'll talk about it next time.
We're going to talk about it in the wrap up of the franchise. I think that's the appropriate time.
And Gerald's game too.
Sure, whatever you want to talk about. Send me a list. We'll talk about them all. So,
Children of the Corn 4?
sure, whatever, man. Just send me a list. Just put it on the calendar. I'll watch it. All right.
Okay, give us our count. What's our count?
So, what we're doing here, Patrick, is how many To Infinity and Beyonds are in the film. Said by any character. Has to be said, not read on a poster or bedspread or anything like that. So, if you guys had to guess, how many To Infinity and Beyonds do you guys think were in this movie?
Patrick, you go first.
I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like it wasn't said too terribly often. 25.
Okay, 25 for Patrick.
That's
Brandon?
a big high guess.
Brandon, how about you?
He's off by about 22. So I think there's 3.5. I'm going with 3.5 because they said at one point Woody said it close, but he didn't quite say the whole thing.
Okay, we're going to count that one, though. So,
okay, so 4.
Okay, it's actually...
5. No, 7. 7.
Okay.
What's the real
Patrick
number?
says 7. Brandon says 4. It is 6. So...
Ooh.
So I guess you technically win because I went over.
Price of Right rules.
Bum, bum,
Brandon
bum, bum.
wins. Yes. So these are the 6 times. Buzz says it in the video game when he uses his gravity belt to propel himself back up. Andy says it as he's playing with Buzz in playtime before leaving to cowboy camp, which, by the way, cowboy camp, right? What's that about? Then when Buzz leaves Andy's room to go rescue Woody, he spoofs the phrase and he says, "To Al's Toy Barn and beyond." So we're going to count that.
Okay, so that I didn't count that one. You're cheating.
Okay. Well, these are the rules, Brandon.
You still won. Why are you complaining?
The second Buzz, the utility belt Buzz, he says it as he thinks he's going to blast through the roof to infinity and beyond. And then utility belt Buzz says it again as the elevator takes him and the toys to Al's penthouse. And then finally at the end, Woody says to Buzz that Buzz Lightyear will keep him company for infinity and beyond. So those are our 6 To Infinity and Beyonds, which brings us to a grand total of 13 so far in the franchise.
I think number 3 has the least amount of them, too.
We'll find out next time.
Shall we rate it?
Yes, so what we're doing here is barrels of monkeys in the barrel. Monkeys in the barrel. So out of 5 monkeys in a barrel, how many monkeys would you give Toy Story 2, Patrick?
5.
5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
5 out of 5, absolutely. And if I didn't, my wife, who's going to be listening to this, would yell at me because it's her favorite movie of all time.
Excellent.
Mm.
Brandon, what about you?
I definitely think it's a full barrel of monkeys as well. Definitely a 5 for this one. This is a great sequel. This is really, really smart, and it's really fun. I happen to think it's better than the first one. And I didn't see this until I had bought the 3-disc box set on DVD that I had talked about, where it was Toy Story 1, 2, and the bonus features. So it was a few years after the movie had come out that I finally watched it. But yeah, I think this is a perfect sequel, and 5 all the way.
You're not alone in thinking it's better than the first. There's a lot. I would venture to say more than 50% of Toy Story fans think 2 is the best.
Yeah, it might be the best. I got to rewatch 3 because 3 is pretty damn good too. These movies are great. These guys are so creative, and the Toy Story movies are just fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. As for me, I give it 5 out of 5. Monkeys in the barrel. I think this is it's kind of like Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. I mean, I know it's kind of some weird franchises to compare, but we just covered that one. I'm like, they're both excellent, and they're both 5 out of 5s. It depends on what my mood would be, I guess. I mean, like I just said, like I've said, I just watched Toy Story 2. I've heard that it's one of the best sequels of all time for years. I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever, guys. But it really is one of the best sequels of all time. It lived up to the hype. It really did, and that's major credit for that. So I'm glad we're all in agreement here, and I'm really looking forward to continuing the franchise with 3 and 4 coming this summer. So,
Yeah. Now, Patrick, we also ask at this point in the franchise, after watching 2 movies, is this franchise fatigued?
No. I don't think so. I think... So we're saying so I saw this in 99. So you're talking about in 99 after I watched this movie, is this franchise fatigued?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. I believe people were dying for more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's evident in the fact that 20 years later, people are still trying to find out who Jesse's owner was and things like that, you know.
Yeah, I can't believe that. So Toy Story 4 is coming out. It's been 25 years almost since the original, right? And we're just getting the fourth. I mean, like, that's some... You're sitting there complaining about the Star Trek movies there, Zach.
Well, no, I mean, these take long. These are computer generated from the ground up. These things take time to make, and they take the time to make them right. They're not just churning these things out. This isn't Cars, people. All right, this is Toy Story. We got standards in this franchise. So, planes and cars and boats and whatever else they're doing over there, I don't know. But you have Toy Story was 95. Toy Story 2 was 99. Toy Story 3 was 2009, and then finally Toy Story 4 is 2019. So I mean, hopefully if there's a 5, we don't have to wait longer than 10 years. So anyway,
especially if they're going to tell us who Jesse's owner is, then I might not live long enough for this.
All right, so everybody exercise, eat your vegetables. You know, we really want to stay alive for Toy Story 5 to find out who Jesse's owner is. But no, I agree with you, Patrick. I definitely don't think this is fatigued whatsoever. And there's plenty of potential left for the franchise. I like the seeds they plant for the future. And what I do know about the future of the franchise, like, it kind of, like, Stinky Pete kind of foreshadows some things here about the future of these toys, like going to college or where they end up at the end, things like that. And yeah, I mean, that, because that's the journey. Like, that, as we're staying with these characters and toys as they get older, it's interesting to see like where are these toys going to be when Andy goes to college? I want to know the answers to those questions. So, and I know we're going to find out in Toy Story 3. So, absolutely not fatigued at all. What do you think, Brandon?
No, I don't think it's fatigued. I'm again, it's so creative. Even at this point, I'm like, wow, that's a very creative sequel. They didn't just rehash everything, you know, like. We have some friends online and whatnot. They have a show called Sequels, and they just cover sequels only. And they just recently covered Aladdin, the second one, The Return of Jafar, and it's like, that's a pretty bad sequel. You know, like, it's okay, but it's not really that good. And so, like, if we did that one, I would say, yeah, it's a fatigue because it's not very good. But Aladdin and the Prince and the King of Thieves is very good.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, you know, they really rebounded with Aladdin 3. Yeah,
right. So, I mean, at this point, I'm like, this is a really good sequel. So, yeah, I would have to say, no, this is not fatigued. I would like to see another one because this was so creative, and it's something that I would never have expected. So,
yeah, well, think about it. You had that in '99, and then you finally had, in 2018, Disney open up a land dedicated to this movie, dedicated to this franchise.
That's a long time later.
But people were still clamoring to get into it. So
well, but the nostalgia helps there too, because not only do you have kids who are seeing Toy Story for the first time, oh look, toys, right? You have people like us who were young when we saw it, and now it's like, oh man, Woody and Buzz and the gang, right? I mean, that taps into it's multi-generational, and that's how Disney is able to become such a powerhouse, because you get the kids and you get the nostalgia from the adults and the kids inside them.
Oh, absolutely. I'm the worst offender of this. I buy into it every time. I do. I'm going back in December to see Star Wars.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Patrick. We really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun having you join us and talk Toy Story 2. Where can the listeners find you when you're not stealing toys from garage sales?
I'm always doing that. But I have my phone with me usually, so they can find me on Twitter, posting pictures of the toys that I'm stealing from garage sales at Magic Drop 5. They can also find me on Warp 5 with you every other week, and they can find me on a podcast called The Edge with my friend Amy Nelson.
Excellent. Zach, where can people find you when you're not trying to not have an affair with the Barbie?
Well, you can find me personally on Twitter at MoronZach. That's MoreonZach. I'm also the host of my own podcast, Always on a Smallville, where we talk about each and every episode of that Young Superman show. You can find us on Twitter at AlwaysSmallville with one S. I'm also host of Standard Orbit, Trek FM's original series podcast. We talk about all things Captain Kirk and the Enterprise and the original series era over there. You can find us on Twitter at Trek FM. And so, Brandon, when you aren't trying to defeat Emperor Zurg in a video game, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella, and I've got a couple of other podcasts, Warp 5 with Patrick, as he already mentioned, over on Trek FM. Melodic Treks on Trek FM, all about the music of Star Trek once a month. My friends Chris and Tom and I, we have a podcast called Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast, and that covers all of Hitchcock's films one at a time.